Hello and welcome to another edition of Good Morning Pattaya, Pattaya Channel's very own breakfast show. I'm your host, Nick Pendrell, and joining me once again on the other sofa is Carolyn. Thank you for coming back.
Good morning, Nick. Nice to be here.
Nice to see you, and nice too to see our guest, Ekaterina from Catische. Welcome to the show.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning.
Hopefully this day is going to be a great one.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
So, Catische, tell us all about Catische. What is it?
Catische is my design brand for female, male, and kids wear, actually, where the idea behind it is to actually create something which is unique for one particular user.
Right.
With a certificate, we work with the client and develop everything and do a lot of hand stitching, which is quite haute couture. Mm-hmm. And it goes from workwear to evening gowns, as you've seen in the last Miss International Russia Thailand.
Right.
So yeah, pretty much that's the short version of what Catische is all about.
Right. So how long has the company been going?
For almost a year now. It started off with me winning a few design competitions.
Wow.
One of them was a Sofitel uniform competition where I got the second place. Then Central Group had this competition for the Thai silk, which was flooded after the 2010 flood and was all destroyed literally. And we had to come up with these Thai gowns. Right. Thai inspired gowns, but not exactly something contemporary, something working. Yeah. I went into the whole work style in a sense, where pretty much I got the best dress, which was her name is Franco Susani. She pretty much chose the Frank dress, which were the best dress designs. Right. And she is the editor-in-chief of Vogue Italy. So that was where it kind of kicked me in a sense, like, okay, do it. Yeah, that's how it all started off with.
Fantastic.
So what's your background in terms of your qualification? You studied fashion, obviously?
Yes, I did study fashion. I studied in Accademia Italiana, which is one of the leading design institutes in Italy, and they do have a subsidiary here in Bangkok. That's where I graduated from. We get a diploma from AI as an Accademia Italiana, and my year we got a bachelor's degree in fashion design from Wales Institute of Design from England. Yes. The new batch is getting a Nottingham University degree. Which is pretty high end.
Pretty prestigious, yeah.
Yes. Both of them are quite famous in England as well and worldwide. So pretty much that was my starting off. But I think the beginning where it all started for design is my parents' company. We do kids wear. Right. So I've been in fashion ever since I was an 8-year-old child.
Right. Yeah. Grown up with it.
Yeah.
It's in the blood.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Miss International Thailand recently. So how did you get involved with that and what did you do for them?
Well, I did the final 10 gowns for the beauties. So pretty much the evening gown part of the Miss Russia Thailand was my design with actually cooperation with one of this jewelry brands, Glimzeria. And it was an interesting experience. I got invited by the original art director, who was afterwards, of course, it was a long story, but long story short, eventually I was working with Vlada and Kobe Alibas and pretty much the Tulip Group. It was an interesting experience, a bit of a challenge because it was a very short notice. Pretty much it was fun. It was the first time I actually created gowns by hand, half of the thing, because all the lace and everything is hand stitched.
And do you do that yourself?
Yeah, I did that pretty much. Most of it was done by myself. Okay. I actually had to ask for my parents' help when it comes to workers because I didn't have enough time. It was a big challenge, but in the end, I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. So how many hours of work goes into one of these gowns then?
Some of those dresses took about 48 hours of hand stitching alone.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and
you must have good eyesight.
Actually, no, I think I already have poor eyesight.
That one. Another 30 years, then you'll be struggling.
It was crazy.
Wow.
Because I remember seeing the dresses at the show, and they were all very elegant and very different. Where do you find your inspiration from?
Everywhere. You probably can give me a pen and I can think of something.
Or I might test you later.
It really comes in, I think fabric is a very big factor, as well as the character of the client. I think that is a very important thing, because if you create something very cheek for somebody who's extremely rock, that's never going to work out.
Yeah.
Because they're just not going to wear it, obviously,
Yeah.
you know? Also, opening your brain up from being outside the box. Because if you are inside the box, you're going to draw inside the box, which is already sellable.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times we take clothes, like we take jeans and we make it into a shirt.
Yeah.
Because nowadays fashion is all about deconstruction of something very simple out of something very hard.
Yeah.
Even though the gowns that I had were quite avant-garde, but that was a beauty pageant.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't exactly have a choice of doing something very simple. On the other hand, I think Miss International Thailand World, Miss Maya, she was wearing one of my dresses as well for that event.
Yeah, when she was judging it, yeah.
And if you notice that the gowns that were on stage and it was on her were completely from a different story.
Yeah.
Because she was very simple, the cuts were very like, you know, the playing of fabric was quite detailed, but on the other hand, those were like wow, wow, woo. So yeah.
So do you interview your whoever's going to wear the dress first to kind of get a feel for their personality and what they're like, so that you can build that into the dress?
Well, with the client, of course, I have to sit down and talk to them.
Yeah.
Hopefully, there's going to be a few projects coming up. Maybe we're like now working on getting to do a few dresses for the Ambassador of America. There, I'm not sure how that's going to go through right now. We're just talking, you know. Hopefully that's going to go through. In case, yes, I'm going to sit down with a client. I'm going to see what their likes are on things. Maybe even see what styles they like. If I think they don't work with them completely, of course, I'm going to suggest something completely new.
Yeah.
But anyways, what the customer wants is what the customer gets. You know how it is.
Yeah. What's the most unusual dress that you've ever produced?
I think it would be a collection, actually.
Okay.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, about 2 years, not this year, last year, for my final collection for the university, we had a very interesting topic called transition. In my case, I put something extremely personal in it. My grandfather was one of the people who was sent in by the Red Cross to help during the Chernobyl explosion.
Right.
So I used that as my inspiration, Chernobyl. Reasoning was town of the future, as it was called back then, into a ghost town and back into a completely new expectation of the future.
Yeah.
So all those clothes was very conceptual. I had things which didn't have exits for the hands and whatnot. The pattern making was very Japanese.
Yeah.
Where they don't look about the actual classic pattern making, but they actually think of, okay, how the hell the fabric can be done this way so we don't have to do extra things. So that's how I think that probably one of those outfits is probably the first one.
Yeah.
Where you literally didn't have a left hand, you just had an exit right at the bottom. For that would be like one of the weirdest things I've created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. That sounds
I can show you
very
some pictures
interesting.
later. I have photos and everything.
Okay.
That sounds great, but competition seems to be quite a big part of your very brief history of the company. What with the Miss International Russia and Thailand award and Miss Thailand, is she going to be wearing that?
Well, she has been talking about it, but the problem is originally she was going to take the dress there. She asked for my permission, but what happened was the beauty pageant there, they already have a designer.
Oh, okay.
So she had to keep it in. Although she said we will, when she comes back, we will work on more designs for her.
Right.
Because pretty much she was an interesting client to work with, really, because I've never seen such a figure on a Thai lady. She has a very Europeanized type of a figure.
Okay.
And she's not standard at all.
Right.
So, like, you know, her top is smaller than the classic mannequin, where she actually has a curve for the bottom, where that's a classic model size.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting time doing that.
Is it more challenging designing dresses for certain figures then? For certain?
Yes.
Okay.
The reasoning is that, you know, for certain figures, obviously, no body's perfect.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have slanted shoulders, or, you know, the actual curves are different. When we dress a model, we dress something very simple. I can drape, like, if some of the girls on the beauty pageant were models, like the girl in the purple dress, which was literally perfect on her.
Yeah.
And she never even fitted. I didn't know the finalists up until 10 minutes before I dressed the girls.
Right.
So I literally just put the dress on, it was sitting perfectly. And what I did use, I used my mannequin. Where with people, with a private client, it's more of like, okay, measure you there, measure you here, and try to do 3D pattern making. And it gets complicated.
Yeah. Do you use any technology when you're making sort of CAD systems or?
Well, I do try to right now. I was taught to do everything by hand, but because I do work with my family and everything, my dad is trying to get me into using Optitex. And Optitex has a very good point on 3D modeling, where you can create a figure of your client and actually try to put the pattern onto the whole thing, which it can be quite useful. And see how it's going to flow through the actual catwalk, which is quite interesting.
So what's the future for Catische? You've obviously achieved a great deal in a very short period of time. So what do you see happening over the next year? What would you like to happen?
Well, big things for me is probably there's going to be a women's club that I'm doing a mini collection for right now, which is going to be Orientalism. Sooner or later, you'll obviously photos of that, because right now I can't exactly talk much about that point.
No.
Then I'm planning on doing a charity event for kids that are sick with autism, which is going to be Africanism. That one is going to be quite a big event. It's going to be performance arts mixed with arts and fashion and whatnot.
Wow.
That's a big plan, because I do have a background in events before, so I'll have the context to be able to do that. Then probably sooner or later, within the next half a year, I'm planning to do a big launch for Catische.
Right.
So that's the goal right now.
So at some point, because at the moment you've been working sort of mostly for private clients with the workwear, with the competitions, how long do you think members of the public will be able to buy your clothes?
Well, I have to see how the future of this, like the future year goes. I do hope within 2 years it's going to be possible, but obviously I have to see what I'm going to be more balanced on, as in the kids wear from my parents, or this particular thing, because right now I'm working both points.
Yeah, sounds like you're very busy.
I need 48 hours a day, I swear.
No, you must have done to have achieved so much so quickly. And it sounds like with the plans, with all the events that you've got coming up, that you're going to be busy for quite a while to come too.
Hopefully I'll manage it. I don't know how that's going to happen, but okay.
Yeah, well, you certainly with Miss International Russia, you had like what seemed like incredible deadlines. You still managed to pull it off at the last minute then.
1.5 weeks after knowing the actual sizes.
Wow. To do how many dresses?
10 dresses, and I didn't know the sizes of who the finalists are. So I just had to pick and choose.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So where can people find out more information about Catische?
Well, there's a Facebook page specifically for Catische itself, which is quite active. And right now I am developing the catische.com and catische.fr pages.
Right.
That should be up within next month. That's the plan right now.
Great.
So people can see examples of your work here, and also find out where they can see. You just mentioned you're working on a couple of projects that are going to be coming.
Yeah, all of it, that's updated there. And if you have any work-related questions, you actually can contact me through my Facebook page, which is on my name, Ekaterina Bushueva. And yeah, pretty much quite accessible and nowadays quite internet-based.
Yeah, that's the.
Well, a lot of businesses are nowadays, aren't they?
It has to be.
It's the way it has to be. Yeah. Fantastic.
So, your adventure, 10 years time, what would you like where would you like Catische to be?
On the world stage in Milan or England. That's my biggest goal.
A
global brand.
Yes.
In very high-end fashion.
I'm a fashion designer. That's the dream we have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
magazines. Have you had a lot featured?
I had a feature in 1 or 2 Thai magazines before, on Thai TV twice, I think, from what I remember. And on a few smaller channels like you guys. That's how it has been so far. Let's see what's going to be next.
Yeah, I'm sure you've done a lot very quickly, so I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot more of your work coming up in the future.
Very exciting.
Stay tuned, not only to Pattaya channel, but also the Thai channels, and we'll see more. So thank you very much for coming to Pattaya to see us today. It's been great interviewing you. Best of luck with all your projects. Sounds like you've got a lot to keep you busy coming on.
Thank you.
And for our viewers, stay tuned for a while later, because we're going to be back with Best of the Web very soon. And not only can you check out the Catische Facebook page, but while you're at it, check out the Pattaya Channel Facebook page as well, where you're going to find a lot more about our coming up programs. See you in part 2 soon.